Hey, what's up, everybody? Let me turn this music down. What's up, everybody? Let me keep grip this fucking up, man. Hey, what's up, everybody? One coach's opinion. And remember, it's my opinion and not a fact. Man, I got the heat on this one. Yeah. We're at my new studio here. Hey, what's up, everybody? One coach's opinion, and just remember, it's my opinion and not a fact. So let's talk about the fight this week. First of all, I'm gonna say this, and I said it again, and I know it happens. It happens all the time, but and that's just part of boxing. But stop putting bigger fights in front of little fights and thinking these fights little. Now, shout out to Resendiz, and I hope I got your name right. You know what I'm saying? I had to hear it pronounced, but shout out to him because this is a guy who just changed his whole boxing career. This is a guy who had some losses, who was brought in really as you might want to say a stepping stone or step before leading to the fight between Plant and Charlo. Now, this guy changed his life around, and he showed. Now, he's had some up and down fights. You know, some good highlights of his career and some lowlights of his career. But he's always, well, I can't say always because I just really started watching a few fights ago. But judging from his record, he's always been pretty tough in tough positions. And I don't know if he changed the coach, if you know what he did to his life to change his boxing career, but his life has just changed drastically. Because really, to be honest, he just put himself in line for a Canelo fight. All y'all say that Canelo was cherry picking and stuff, or doing what Floyd was doing. He just put himself in that market. Because I could see Canelo, after his Crawford fight, to finish up his fight deal, fighting a guy like this who has just became like a mandatory in one of the belts. He's the interim now. You know what I'm saying? I mean, shout out to Plant. You know what I'm saying? I like Caleb Plant. I like his boxing skills and stuff like that. You know, I can't say where nothing went wrong. Resendiz might have just did some things right. They changed the night for him. You know, he was landing good punches. You know, I couldn't really see where, I mean, it looked like somebody's trying to sit Caleb down more and make him sit on his punches, but now you see, you're not a puncher. You know, some guys got to realize you're not a puncher and you'll probably never become a puncher. Sharpen the knife that you have, and that's your boxing skills. And he was trying to, but he didn't box clearly the way he boxed like a Canelo or the way he boxed Benavidez. To me, he was trying to trade. Like, I think in his mind, he felt this dude did not belong in the ring with him. And this dude said, yes, I do. You might have a better record, but I've been in the ring with the same guys you've been in with, you know, if it's sparring or whatever, and I think I do belong here with you. And he proved it. He proved it. I don't even know, to be honest, and I like Caleb Plant. I don't even know what the judge who gave Caleb Plant the fight saw. I clearly was like, damn, Caleb, you lost this. And then in the 12th round, and you know, not knocking anybody's coaching, but you got to tell Caleb, Nick, you got to knock him out. Not we need this round. We didn't need that round. We needed you to knock him out in order to win this fight. There was no way he wins that last 12th round if he won on anybody's card and wins the fight. Not in my eyes. I mean, boxing has its ways, you know, boxing has its decisions, and you know, sometimes boxing doesn't even appreciate boxing, to be honest. But shout out to this guy, because this guy changes, so he used his hands, and that's what I love about the sport of boxing. It's an open door sport. It's not that many qualifications for you to turn pro. In some states, I think you can just go down to the office and fill out an application and turn pro. But people might say, see, that's what's wrong about it. No, it's not what's wrong about it. It's an open door sport where it gives anybody the opportunity to shine. That's all it is. And if you can't shine, you're not going to shine in boxing. You know. But shout out to Resendiz, man. I don't know what your next plans are. This is like an Andy Garcia move. I mean, Andy Ruiz. I'm sorry, I was calling Andy Ruiz move where, you know, when he upset Anthony Joshua, and you know, his whole life turned around. You know what I'm saying? He's still probably living off that because, you know, he didn't do much after that. But he got another fight with him, which got way more money with him. And look, if he didn't do that, he'd probably be an unhappy camper with his boxing career. He just has some stories, but he made it so, hey, I changed my family's life forever. You know, one way or another. You know, hopefully he's smart with his money. But Resendiz just did this, and this is just, you know, I mean, as somebody in the sport of boxing, I really appreciated what he did. I really appreciate it. Some of you could tell your guys, hey, look, you never know what can happen. You never know what happens. You keep on doing this, and everybody's path in boxing is different. All these people thinking they're trying to get that Floyd Mayweather undefeated record, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Floyd was just a talent that could do it. There's some people say, oh man, he lost a few fights, but he got robbed. But there's not a fight out there that you can clearly say there's no way in the world I would give this fight to Floyd. None. And all of his fights that you thought were close, he redeemed in such a fashion that you would say, well, if what happened to you the second time? So, Resendiz, shout out to you, man. You know, you're going to be inspiration for a lot of people in this sport. You don't realize it. Caleb Plant, it's not over. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely not over for you. You know, get back on the right track. You know, do whatever you had to do to get there in the first place, and do it again. You know. Now, let's go on to fight number 2. Thomas LaManna against Charlo. Now, I like Thomas LaManna as a person. Let's say that. I've known him for a while. Cornflake, that's what we call him. Since the amateurs and stuff, he always come around. He was always a guy to get in the ring. Always could toughen it out. You know what I'm saying? Do I like him as, oh yeah, Thomas LaManna, that's the sharpest move? No, it's not like that. But I do have respect for him. I respect anybody who's willing to get in the ring and accomplish what he's accomplished. Even him, you're fighting for world titles. You're doing self-promotion. You know, you've made a name for yourself in this sport of boxing, and it's respectable. Even the fights you had, if you could just clearly tell, and you'll get my point in a minute, you could clearly tell that Charlo was just too strong for you. You know, the way you reacted to his punches and he reacted to your punches, you could see where it was coming. I was sitting there debating with a guy, and he's like, man, your guy, he's about to get knocked out. He might be about to get knocked out, but that's not what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the time, the 104 punches that you landed on Charlo, a guy who is supposed to be better than this. Charlo could not block a jab. He could not block a jab. He was getting hit with most of the stuff, and you can see why Thomas wanted to continue. You know, he's a fighter. In his mind, I'm touching him like he's touching me. That wasn't the case. But as far as numbers, he was touching him a little bit less than he was getting touched. It was just the force of it. Now, here's the thing. I'm sitting there with a guy, and he's arguing about, well, the reason why Charlo's getting touched is because Thomas don't have no power, and he just walking through it. Walking through is like blocking and parrying punches and walking the dude down. That's one thing. I don't think there's a fight. Canelo, I watch him fight all the time. I've never seen him, even the last guys he's fought, I never seen him just walking in and be like, hey, I'm just going to let you punch me in my face, you know, because you can't punch. Fighters don't do that. They don't do that. And for what I saw, Charlo was taking a lot of shots that I was saying at the time, he can't fight Caleb Plant like this. He can't let Caleb land these type of punches. Now, as the end of the night went on, you know, man, look at your man Plant. Of course, that's what I get. But fact still remains, if you look at that fight, look how Charlo was getting touched. He has no defense whatsoever. And that's why I say coaches make a difference. And I'm not saying that one coach is better than another. I'm trying to say that as coaches, like I've always said, coaches is like Kool-Aid. Two simple ingredients, but everybody's Kool-Aid is going to taste different. Everybody likes their Kool-Aid to taste a little different anyway. And I know somebody's like, I don't even drink Kool-Aid. Who cares? Get the fucking point. Excuse my language. Get the point of what I'm trying to say. We all have the same tools and stuff. Most people have the same tools in the gym. And what comes out of the gym is between a fighter and a coach. And I just truly believe he went back to his original coach, Holland Williams' father. A great guy. I remember his son in the amateurs. His son was a tremendous fighter in the amateurs. You know what I'm saying? I remember the ringside, his son got robbed for a fight, and all the coaches, when I tell you everybody around the ring, bum rushed the ring, joined the ring, like, nah, we're not having this. This was a clear robbery. Now, I don't think it made a difference, but the statement made a difference. Everybody saw. You've never seen any coaches, and he probably would tell you, bum rush the ring to complain about what just happened. You've never seen that happen. So, in saying that, I'm not knocking him going back to the original coach, but I'm saying you can't see a difference in what's going on. And maybe it's different to be corrected. Maybe this coach has been like, hey, man, you're getting hit too much. And Charlo just don't have it. I'm not going to put it on the coach. I'm just going to put it on how I see him used to fight, how I see him fight now. His defense seemed to be a little bit better. I mean, they were never the most defensive fighter, him or his brother, where they didn't get touched. But they had respectable defense. Look how many times, I mean, Thomas LaManna was landing punches. They just wasn't effective. But he was landing. And I'm not saying he landed enough to beat him. I'm not saying, you know, oh, yeah, they robbed him. I'm not saying nothing like that. What I am saying is that you can't fight nobody else at 168 with that defense. That's what I'm saying. If you go back and watch the fight, you'll see what I'm saying. You're going to say, oh, my God, this dude was really putting it in. This dude was doing this. This dude was doing it. He was getting touched, especially with the jab. I mean, Thomas almost couldn't miss with the jab. He just was like a gnat was fucking with him. And I'm not talking punch. I'm just saying the reaction. Like a gnat was fucking with him, but it was hitting him. It was hitting him. In his mind, I'm going to walk through these punches and I'm going to knock this dude out. And, you know, it kind of happened, if you look at it the same way with his brother when his brother fought Tony Harrison. If he just would have stayed there and said, man, yeah, nah, I'm a boxer. I'm a better boxer than him, he would have lost twice. He had to knock Tony Harrison out. You know, and Tony Harrison might have got a little big-headed with the second fight. But if you look at the fight, the first fight, Tony was touching him. If you look at the second fight, Tony was touching him. But he wasn't getting touched like that. His defense was respectable. Like I said, I'm just saying they've never been defensive wizards where they were trying to fight, but they have been, I would say, great fighters. You could put them down as the Charlo brothers. They were great fighters. They weren't excellent fighters. They were great fighters. You know what I'm saying? You got your Canelos. You got your, it looked like Benavidez coming around. You got your Bivol, Beterbiev. You got these guys that you could almost say are at the top of the top of the ladder. Your Tanks, your Shakurs. You know, it's plenty of fighters you might can label. I look at them like A, B, C, D, like anybody else, and F fighters. And you got to say that I won't say Charlos were definitely B+ fighters. Definitely B+. If not A-. They had some little kinks and quirks, but definitely they were solid fighters. But for what I saw, he needs to work on his defense before he challenges anybody. That defense would not stop Canelo from destroying him. He probably would get destroyed worse than his brother. And I don't really feel his brother got destroyed. His brother got a lesson in punching power. You're down at 54 for a reason. His brother was at 160. You're down at 54 for a reason. And he could say, well, it's just my brother, I'm tough. No, the way you respond to Canelo's punches showed that you didn't belong at 168. You don't belong there. There's probably some 168 fighters you can beat, but you cannot be a champion at 168 with that type of defense. And When it comes to Charlo, same thing. The older, I mean the heavier one, he's gonna have the same effect. Defense does make a difference, and I'll give him his credit on the offense and putting pressure on a guy, and he really didn't. I mean, he was on the verge of maybe knocking him out. You could just tell that LaManna couldn't handle the punching power. LaManna's never fought at 68, so a lot of weight going on. But if you look at the punch stats, the punch totals, you'll see he was landing an awful lot of punches on Charlo. They just won the effectiveness that the world wants to see. But if you're a boxing coach, you got to say, hey, man, this guy can't block a jab. And if he fights, and put like this, that night, or say he fights Resendiz, that's going to be a fight for him. And I say his power might be the key in beating him, but you cannot take those type of punches. The punches he was hitting Caleb with are going to make a difference. That guy, if he can't do anything else, he can punch. You know, you've seen it with other fighters. You've seen him swell up fighters. You've seen him. He does have punching power. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to be able to do that with him doing the things you were doing the other night. I can say that. Oh, girl, maybe you need to wash your hair. She patting like a patting. I don't want her to see me. She patting like that. But my coach's opinion, I hope everybody else liked the fights. I mean, I'm sorry I didn't. I mean, I don't have much time to bring up all the other fights. There was some pretty good fights that night. But those were the fights everybody's thinking about. Tell me what you thought about the fights. Tell me where they go from now. I think Resendiz, he's going to get a few more paydays before his luck runs out. Or he might increase himself. You never know. This might be the turnaround of his career. I think Charlo, you're already there. All you need to do is work on that defense a little bit more and stop just trying to kill guys, because you're not going to be fighting Thomas LaManna's all your life. And I'm not, no knock to Thomas LaManna, but we do know you're not a 168. And really, I don't think he is neither, but he's heavier than you. You know what I'm saying? He's been fighting at heavier weights longer than you. So, one coach's opinion. Congratulations to Resendiz. Keep your head up, Caleb Plant. Way to go, Charlo. I'm proud of you on your comeback. It was a pretty good showing. And Thomas LaManna, you're gonna do your thing. You're gonna do your thing. You'll still be out here, still be taking fights. You went out like a soldier. You didn't want the fight to be stopped. I can say it was a good stoppage because it didn't look like you had enough power to turn anything around. And you weren't really outlanding him, but you were landing some good shots. Let me give you that. So, one coach's opinion. Congratulations to everybody on that card. I think you did a tremendous job. It was entertaining fights, stuff like that. One coach's opinion. I'm out. Tell me what you thought.